Hello, BookTube. Got a bit of mail for you on a very rainy Friday. I have heard from a certain battered old head librarian that Vermont is getting socked with snow. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen this far south. Doesn't look like it's going to happen in Boston. So it's a dark, miserable day where every light in the place on only barely manages to illuminate my visage this much. And where a certain little bean, oh my God, look at her. She is she is not willing to move. She is not willing to go out at all. But we still have mail. We have a couple of periodicals and a couple of packages that we can go through. The first periodical is the New Yorker. This is the December 19th issue with a George Booth cover. George Booth died this year. He's a legendary New Yorker artist. And he has a Christmas cover here. It's nice to see. It gives a very old-fashioned feel to the New Yorker, but it's also sad because aside from the one or two things that may or may not be in their archive, uh, we won't get any more George Booth cartoons in the New Yorker, which is sad. He is in all the anthologies that I have. I have a whole shelf of anthologies, but this still feels like a moment in history. And this was a pretty good issue. Lots of thought-provoking stuff and a couple of things that made me groan. Stephen Witt does an article on quantum computing that comes closer to making it comprehensible than anything that I've ever read on the subject. Not only making it comprehensible, but explaining how, if it becomes widespread, it will change everything. I think, having read the article, I honestly do believe that I almost understand what he's talking about, which would be kind of amazing. And then another thing that happened in this issue was fairly predictable. In fact, 100% predictable. Those of you who maybe don't follow new releases in the American book market, Cormac McCarthy came out with not one but two books, two new novels, after a silence of 16 years. And they'd been much awaited. Cormac McCarthy dude bros and fanatics have been refreshing their Amazon feeds for 10 years, hoping for a new book. It was beyond their fondest hopes that they would get two books at the same time. And the critical establishment, most of it, almost all of it, especially the biggest mainstream outlets, pretty much had their reviews ready for one or both of those books. That's very depressing to me. I read the advanced copies of those books this summer, and then I read the finished copies, and there's almost nothing to them. They are almost complete garbage. And yet, the reviews that were written ahead of time, they've been written for years, assume that this is the greatest literary figure who's ever existed, and that all that must be done with any new book that this figure produces is to genuflect and wrestle as a Sadducee. Take the texts with a capital T that we are given with a capital G from on high and wrestle with their meaning. The full meaning will elude you because these aren't mortal texts and you are only a mortal person. The full meaning will elude you. And if it looks like the emperor has no clothes, then you don't have any right to read these books or any other books ever again. You're that far outside the temple. What you must do in your long think piece is grapple with these texts with a capital T. Always with the either implicit assumption or just explicitly saying that you are but a child at the foothills of a mountain of wisdom that you will never fully comprehend, but you can try. You can give little pointers here and there. You can lift a little hem of the garment on a small fraction of the genius involved here. It's utter nonsense, and it's also deeply embarrassing. It's deeply embarrassing to watch my fellow critics go through this kabuki routine. And James Wood is the New Yorker's literary poobah. He has this job. He weighs in on books from time to time. And so it was completely unavoidable that he would do this, and he does. He has a long piece weighing in on these two Cormac McCarthy novels. I will read it, not because it's Cormac McCarthy, but because it's James Wood. I don't want to miss him, but Soon it will be over. No one is going to write about these things when they come out in paperback. No one's going to write about them in the new year. So soon this massive, just craven capitulation on the part of the Republic of Letters will be over. Soon it will be over. And we might, in the new year, in 2023, we might get some equivalent. Is there some equivalent? Marilynne Robinson could write a new book. Wouldn't be the same thing, though. The male critics, who are the old literary poobahs at virtually every mainstream outlet, don't believe that they are understanding the foothills of Marilynne Robinson's wisdom. Marilynne Robinson, who is and always has been 50 times better a writer than Cormac McCarthy. But these literary poobahs who got their start in the 1970s, they don't believe that they understand only a small foothill of Marilynne Robinson's genius. They're pretty sure they get it all because, you're deep, toots, but you're not that deep. The fundamental underlying assumption between those two literary figures is drastically different. Just drastically different. Cormac McCarthy writes truth with a capital T. He delivers his books unto their readers. He doesn't write and then hand in a manuscript raw and bleeding to his editor and his publisher. He delivers manuscripts unto his readers. That assumption does not exist with Marilynne Robinson, who's a much better writer. Instead, if she comes out with a book, the only thing that will be the same is that there will be an assumption on all of literary parts in all of the major mainstream literary reactaria that anything that she does is de facto brilliant. And it isn't. Every author has to sing for their supper in every book. But although that part of the New Yorker, so the cover illustration, and the absolutely requisite, I could have written the piece myself. I could have written it before I read a word of it. The absolutely requisite genuflecting in front of Cormac McCarthy, those two things may have combined to make the New Yorker a little disappointing, but I got a little pick-me-up, and so will you, because we have Decor. We have Decor. And some of you, for some unknown reason, love it when I review Decor magazines. I get a bunch of them. I subscribed to them because at the time they were really cheap, and it was the very worst early parts of the pandemic. I felt like I wanted magazines coming in the mail that were content-free, that were light, that were mostly visual. I should have spent that time looking around for tech review magazines, to the limited extent that I would want a print tech review magazine when I have YouTube. That might have been a better use of my money. I still haven't found a tech review magazine that I really like. But Decor, this is about this is the escape issue, where you can escape into the environs that are located in this magazine. Like, for instance, this. Doesn't that just say escape? Oh, absolutely. Don't you want to just cozy up in that room? Yeah, I'm sure you do. There was a detail at the beginning. The beginning of all these magazines is ads, high-priced ads. If you want someone to come in, tear out the character and warmth of your kitchen and turn it into this, into Dr. Evil's laboratory, you have the name. This is Scalovini. You have the names up in the front of these issues of the places where you can go who will do this. For that kitchen, to tear out your kitchen, which has character and a lived-in sense of warmth and personality, to tear out your kitchen and install that android's nightmare, or, for instance, this as your patio. I love the decorative rock. The cost to do that is about $375,000. So these ads are aimed at a very, very specific demographic. They are not aimed at most people. But even so, I mean, look at this, for instance. There's your living room. The living room here, it has windows. It also has square walls. The walls are not curved like this. No, somebody came in and did this. And they not only curved and added absolute light-swallowing dark padding, they also curved up the padding so that it cantilevers forward into the center of the room with light fixtures behind it to completely destroy any light in this room. Both the natural light that you would get through the windows if this weren't dark, but also the artificial lights, which are 99% of it is wasted hitting the ceiling. All for the sake of mood. When this could be a good room if you paid $175,000 to strip all that stuff out. But even in the midst of all of this garbage, like here's your living room, which is the perfect place for you to hang your bathrobe. Even in the midst of all this, there was a little detail that I really kind of liked. I don't quite know why. It wasn't what you... I like one detail of this picture here. I like that little detail. I don't like this little detail. I don't care how many 4 posters you have or what kind of drapery or what kind of cushions in there. Bars mean a cage, and dogs no longer belong in a cage than you do. So I wasn't happy about this to see that. There is no highfalutin, high-end way to put your dog in a cage. Your dog belongs roaming all around and coming up on the bed with you whenever your dog feels like it. Whenever your dog feels like it. No one belongs in a cage. And if, I don't think anyone's watching me who does this sort of thing, but if you're going to tell me that your dog likes your cage, first of all, don't call it a crate. It's a cage. If it has bars, it's a cage. If you're going to tell me that, if you can be locked in, then it's a cage. If you're going to tell me that your dog likes their crate, you may have conditioned that kind of reaction in your dog, but if you took away that conditioning, your dog would view it as a punishment. Of course, anyone would view it as a punishment. You might claim that your dog likes his crate, and your dog might even act like he likes his crate, but that's conditioning on your part. And if you remove that conditioning, trust me, the thing he's really going to like is to wedge between you and as many other warm bodies as possible in one crowded bed. That is the way dogs do things naturally. That's the way all normal, well-adjusted humans do things naturally. But anyway, there was a detail at the front of this magazine that I thought was kind of attractive. In a way, I've never seen it before. I kind of like it. It's a bathroom detail. This is the bathroom in question. Most of what's being done in this room is bad. Like, for instance, there's a sink, and I guess this is a tub, but the mirror shows there's a bed. So once again, we have this weird phenomenon in she circles of taking a bath in full view of the public. But this little thing here is the toilet. It's got this kind of thick, translucent glass panels and a wooden door. You go into this little room to go into the toilet. Now, I don't know if I kind of like that. It's weird. Humans have this weird shyness about where they poop, naturally, given who raised me. I don't know quite what to do with that. But even here, I mean, I kind of sort of like that. It's kind of a neat little cubby hole, regardless of what you do in there. But even here, it's not done well. Because, of course, this should go up all the way to the ceiling. Of course it should. This should have a light fixture on the inside that works on the same electrical wiring as this light right here. But this should go all the way up to the ceiling. You shouldn't have any of this weird, creepy dead space here. I know you want the kind of twee detail of a roof, but who cares what you want? It's what the room wants that matters, and this doesn't work at all. But I've never seen that before, making a little room for a toilet. But then we get to the back of the issue, which is home profiles, and is predictably disastrous. Like, for instance, there's a couple that makes their home on the coast of Mexico. This is their living room. There's a creature holding up a table that no one uses for anything. There's this stuff on the walls. What on earth? And there's probably a gap up here. That's probably where the snakes go. And don't miss these. These things are actually chairs. These two things are actually chairs. Theoretically, anyway, you're supposed to be able to sit in this. Utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Here's the bedroom. There you've got the sheets, the blankets, the wooden posts, and also 8 million mosquitoes. Roughly 8 million mosquitoes. So in 1 hour of trying to enjoy your wonderful, sumptuous coast of Mexico rest, The air in this bedroom fills with enough mosquitoes so that if you netted them all, you could make a protein brick that would get you through a week. Instead of you netting them, they're going to net you. They're going to eat you completely dry. Then we move to a Greek island where we can have festive get-togethers with the family. Do you want one of these chairs to be a little closer to the other than not? No. They're exactly 4.5 inches away from each other, and not any more and not any less. And if you were to bump two of them together or ruin this kind of measurement, well, the gigantic bowler-hatted major domo, who's right off camera here, will escort you from that chair to this accent pool that you're never supposed to swim in and drown you there. so make sure those chairs stay exactly where they are and exactly the way that they are. But you know, if that seems a little regimented to you, you can always enjoy the exterior. So here's the courtyard. It's bare rock and sun-bleached concrete. There's, I guess that's a chair. There's a door here. There's a couple of plants here that are starved for water. And when you're finished taking in this lovely, inviting exterior, you go in this door, up these stairs, and that's the window you throw yourself from to kill yourself. Yeah, that's great. Also, this side of the house also has an accent pool, but they just went whole hog and filled it with concrete. Why not? If it's the aesthetic you're going with, why not? Then we have some hideously overpriced jewelry. You do not want to know how much this stuff is. Then we move to what is called a bucolic retreat north of Rome. And this is promising. That's way too much space for me. I wouldn't want it at all. But if you gave it to me, there's something that could be done. If this is just one block, I don't think it is, because up here you can see the rest of the house is extending backwards. But if this were just a block, just a 3-story tower block, maybe with a little basement, there's something that you could do with this, very much so. It's too much space for me, but I think we can reliably assume that the owner will not do any of that stuff with the interior. Here we have a natural favorite of me and any other old person who's watching this video: stairs without a banister. Just lovely. What could possibly go wrong? There was also another item in here. See, we've got the bathroom. I don't know what this is. I don't think this is another case of the toilet being encased, but there was, oh yes, look at this. There's another staircase. Servant staircase in the back somewhere. Probably going up the whole length of the left-hand tower on this stone facade. Lots and lots of potential there. I would kill to see what the inside of this looks like and what could be done with it. I bet there's a lot that could be done with it. But then we move on. Where is this next monstrosity? This is in Argentina. This is a hilltop villa in Argentina. And once again, we're bathing for the millions. Once again, the bathtub is on a pedestal, and you are bathing for anybody who drones their way by. I don't know what you're doing in there that's so visually appealing. But those were the two magazines that we got. And then we can go through the two books. We have a package and a box. And the package is fairly heavy. So... but it's also fairly flexible, so I'm going to make a guess ahead of time. You'll notice, some of you have pointed out, my guesses usually are terrible, considering that I've been getting this kind of mail forever. I'm going to guess that this is an advanced copy of a book. And you might say, well, you get that all the time, but I'm going to say a very advanced copy. I'm going to say this isn't even a review copy, but this is bound galley. Oh, and look at that. I am right. I am right. Pages. Just pages. Okay, so what have we got here? This must be very advanced. Just cardboard. Obviously, I'm not going to keep that. Cardboard over... oh, okay, great. All right, I don't have a sheet for this. I don't have anything at all. But we saw at least one earlier volume of this series on this channel. This is To the End of the Earth, the U.S. Army and the Downfall of Japan, 1945, by John McManus, who did Island Infernos. And this is just a very advanced copy of this book. So it has, not for distribution stamped right on there as a watermark. This is just the text. This is just to get me involved with the text until the advanced copy is available. Oh, but this does have a list of this author's work. Yeah, Fire and Fortitude and Island Infernos. We saw both of those on this channel, and they were very good. And this is, I think, the third and final volume of the U.S. Army during World War II. Fantastic. So this is as advanced as it gets. We will get an actual review copy in due time, and then we will, in the course of time, we will get a finished copy. But for now, the publisher just wanted to get this to me. And maybe the other part of the rationale for sending something like this is not only to get it to me, because if you wanted to get it just to me immediately, and every publicist knows this, every publicist by now knows that I love e-reading. If you wanted to get the book just to me immediately, well, you could send me a PDF. I get it. I download it onto my desktop. I email it to whatever device I want to use. Right now, it is the 2022 entry-level Kindle in denim blue. But for a while there, it's been wobbling back and forth between that and my iPad Mini. It's easy to do either way. It's easy to once I have that file on my desktop, I can email it as an attachment anywhere and download it onto any device. If you want just me to have it really early, that's the easiest way. The key for something like this is not necessarily to get me to read it. It's to get me to send it out to a reviewer, which is the main complaint that I hear from people in my own profession. Reviewers, people who are just reviewers, not that there's anything just about that, but you know what I mean. People who are just reviewers sort of learned, most of them did, during the worst of the pandemic, how to deal with ebooks. Most of them went out and got an e-reader or learned or got their grandkid to show them how to use it on an iPad. So figure out how to read an ebook, how to annotate one, what to do with your notes, that sort of thing. Some of them even started to like it. These ebooks are a book reviewer's dream come true, because you can search for literally anything. Keep in mind, novels don't come with indexes at all. So if you're reading a novel and you want to know where Aunt Lulu first makes her appearance, if you get to page 300 and you're thinking, wait a minute, we're being told that she's stubby and fat. When she was introduced, wasn't she tall and thin? Oh God, I'll never find it. How many times have I just stood there by a bookcase, flipping back and forth through pages, vainly looking for something like that I need for the review? With an ebook, you can just ask the machine, show me every place where Aunt Lulu appears. And it's as easy as that. A lot of those critics learned that in those early years. They might still prefer something physical like this, but they learned that they can definitely live with ebooks. So no, it's not that. It's for people who also commission reviews in addition to writing them. I can live with just ebooks, but I'm not going to send a reviewer an ebook, even in the cases where I can. I'm not going to do it. They get precious little money as it is. If I'm going to send a book for review, I'm going to send a physical thing, something they can keep. And every reviewer is like, every editor, every book section editor is like that. They don't want to send ebooks. And in a pinch, of necessity, they will, but they don't want to, and publishers know that. So that's why I would get an advanced thing like this. And then we have the box, which is a medium size, but not very heavy. I don't know what this could be. We'll just rip our way into it here. Another benefit of not having a sense of touch, because this has these wire things here inside the packing, and I would imagine that ripping at those, if you had a sense of touch, would hurt. not my case. So what have we got here? It's a big thing, whatever it is. Oh. All right, I don't have a sheet. The only thing that came with it is an invoice, which we don't need. But I think this is a January release. It's bigger than I thought it would be. This is a Steve book. This is a bullseye. If you thought you already had one with a World War II book, well, this is even more of a Steve book. This is by Lucy Wooding, and it is Tudor England, a history. A big, thick thing. Look at that. With the kind of Tudor architectural design in the cover. Very nice. Very nice. So I don't have a sheet for this. Let's just read the dust jacket as if you were picking this up in a bookstore. So the first thing you're going to look at if you pick this up in a bookstore is how much is this going to set you back, right? But it's Yale University Press. University presses often don't come with prices on them, and this one doesn't. I would say probably no less than $35. But those of you Tudor fans out there, you're definitely going to want this. Let's see what we have here. When Henry Tudor landed in a secluded bay in a far corner of Wales in 1485, it seemed inconceivable that this outsider could ever become King of England. Yet he and his descendants became some of England's most unforgettable rulers and gave their name to an age. So, clearly wasn't inconceivable. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. The story of the Tudor monarchy is so astounding that it can eclipse how other families and communities went about their lives across the country. Entirely true. This inclusive new history lets their voices speak too, depicting how ordinary people rose to new challenges while striving to preserve social harmony. Through their combined experiences, Lucy Wooding shows us an establishment under strain, a religion in crisis, and a population contending with war, rebellion, plague, and poverty. The poverty part could be stressed there. The Tudors had an unbelievably bad, all of them did, had an unbelievably bad century of harvests. It's a thing that doesn't get a lot of attention usually when you're talking about, obviously, if you've got somebody beheading wives every other Saturday, you're going to have less attention put to something as boring as rain cycles. But the Tudors were often plagued with bad harvest seasons, more so than the Plantagenets in most of their years, and more so than the Stuarts. I'm not talking about God's ill will here. Obviously, it's just random chance. But, oh my. Oh my. Look at this thing. I'm going to have to check the date on this. I think this is a 2023 release. If it's a latecomer, if it's late getting to me and it's a 2022 release, well, it has missed my best history list of the year, obviously. But it still means, if that's true, I can consume it tonight. Otherwise, somehow, I'm going to have to find the strength of will to let it go. No 2023 books, no more 2023 books. I read 3 2023 books in 2022 because I could not resist. And then I thought, well, my resolve is now firm. I will not read any more 2023 books in 2022. And then I read one more. I read one more. Just the other day, I read a 2023 release. It was not intentional. I started it. I thought, you have a rule against reading it. You don't have a rule against starting it. I started it and it was completely hooked. Completely hooked. Could not stop reading for the life of me, so I finished. Any guesses on which that book was? I'll give you a hint. A couple of hints. 1, I criticized its cover design. And 2, it's a novel, not a work of history or biography. Anyway, we can talk about that in the new year. But here we go. I don't have a date for this, but I will look it up and find out. And that is The Mail. So 2 works of history. Tudor history and World War II history. So not a bad Steve day when it comes to mail. Not bad at all. So there you go. That is The Mail for today on a gloomy, rainy, cloudy day that is supposed to just stay this way. It's supposed to rain light or heavy all day long. The only possible wrinkle in the forecast is that it may turn to snow when the sun goes down, when the temperature drops a couple of degrees. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll be sure to bore you with the details if it does. Thank you, BookTube.